3 weeks after my brother took his life, his ex created deepfake videos of him saying I drove him to it and blackmailed me for money. She destroyed my reputation and got me fired, so I found evidence on his laptop that led to me uncovering her darkest secret. 3 weeks after my brother Daniel took his own life, I was still living in a fog. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't stop replaying our last conversation. So when his ex-girlfriend Brittany reached out saying she needed to talk, I assumed she was grieving too. She used to be the type of girl who could make an entire room full of people smile. The human version of a dandelion. But now she was a shell. Baggy black clothing, bloodshot eyes, smudged mascara. And for a second, I actually felt sympathetic, until she opened her mouth. I have Daniel's real sewer slide note was the first thing she said. And before I could respond, she continued. The one where he explains how you drove him to this. My blood ran cold. That's impossible. The police gave us his note. That was fake, she interrupted. He sent me the real one, where he details every cruel thing you did, every time you made him feel worthless. She leaned forward. I need $5,000, or I post this everywhere. Your job, your friends, his memorial page, everyone will know what you really are. Suddenly, all my grief disappeared and was replaced with shock. This woman, who had cheated on my brother, who had destroyed his self-worth, was trying to monetize his death. But I thought about what Daniel would want. He was always the peacemaker, always saw the good in people even when they didn't deserve it. Brittany, I said softly, we're both in pain. Grief makes us do terrible things. I reached into my bag and pulled out Daniel's acoustic guitar pick, the one he always kept in his wallet. He'd want you to have this. And here, I wrote down a number. This is my grief counselor. She's been helping me. I'll even pay for your first few sessions. Her face contorted like she had just bitten into a lemon. She snatched the pick and number before storming out. I thought offering her compassion would make her reconsider. Instead, it made everything worse. I was lying on my bathroom floor crying into the sleeve of my hoodie when my phone exploded. My sister sent a message to the family group chat. It was a long, detailed sewer slide note from Daniel explaining how his sisters, me, constant criticism, jealousy, and cruelty drove him to end his life. I went to check my conversation with her, and that's when I saw that she had blocked me. Turns out, Brittany had sent my sister Angeli a very fake sewer slide note, and now she was posting it into every group chat we shared. The gym, neighborhood, and now the family group chat. The messages poured in immediately. People who'd known us since childhood suddenly saw me as a monster. My boss called asking if I needed to take some time off while they evaluated the situation, but I didn't even bother exposing her lies. Not because I wasn't innocent, I was. And not because I didn't effing hate her, I did. But because I knew Daniel would have wanted me to take the high road. So I just quietly grieved my brother while my life fell apart around me. After a month, everyone moved on to the next local gossip, and things were finally okay. So there I was, sobbing at Daniel's grave and refreshing his flowers when my aunt called me. How could you hide this from us? Her voice was shaking and she was in tears. My phone vibrated and I knew she texted me, so I went to check her message to see what she was talking about. It was a link to a video on TikTok. Daniel's voice, clear as day, reading the sewer slide note Brittany had posted, explaining how I was the reason he was dead. My knees buckled. It sounded exactly like him, even the way he said my name. The video was set to friends only, and the comments were flooded with our family members. I lost my job the next day. My extended family blocked me. It felt like the entire world was against me. And even though my parents hated me, they let me move in after finding out I was on the brink of homelessness. I was living in my childhood bedroom, staring at photos of Daniel and me as kids, when my mom made a discovery that changed everything. She'd been going through Daniel's old laptop when she found something in his trash folder. Screenshots. Dozens of them. And that's when we learned the truth. There was a recorded FaceTime call saved to his photos. Brittany must have been using his laptop and forgot to delete it. In the video, she's sobbing to her mom, mascara running down her face. But these weren't tears of grief. I know it's wrong, she's saying, wiping her nose, but they have money, and I have student loans. I spent 3 hours making that deepfake AI video of his voice. It's not like it hurts Daniel. He's already gone. Her mom's voice comes through the speaker, asking what she means. Brittany laughs through her tears. It sounds exactly like him reading a sewer slide note blaming his sister. They'll pay me to keep quiet. They have to. My heart dropped. But she picked the wrong family to mess with. My mom and I immediately saved that FaceTime recording everywhere we could think of. 3 different cloud services, 2 external hard drives, even emailed it to ourselves. We weren't taking any chances. Then my phone started buzzing like crazy. It was texts coming through on Daniel's old phone, which we'd been keeping charged. Brittany was messaging him frantically. She kept asking him to delete something from his laptop. She sent like 20 messages in 5 minutes. She had no idea we had his devices. My dad used to work as a paralegal before he retired. He sat us down at the kitchen table that night. He said we needed more evidence before going to the police. The video was good, but we needed to show a pattern. He suggested we document everything and maybe try to get her to admit more. I couldn't sleep that night thinking about it. The next morning, I had an idea. I created a fake Instagram account using some random photos from Pinterest. Made myself look like a small business owner who needed video editing help. Then I messaged Brittany saying I'd seen her work and was impressed. She responded within an hour. She was super eager, talking about her rates and experience. I asked if she had any special skills. That's when she started bragging about her AI video work. She said she could make anyone say anything. She even sent me samples, including some voice files she'd used for practice. I recognized one immediately. It was Daniel's voice from old YouTube videos he'd posted. My stomach turned, but I kept playing along. I told her I might need something similar for a project. Meanwhile, my mom was going through Daniel's email on his laptop. She discovered Brittany had been logging in using his saved passwords. She'd been in his bank account too. The memorial fund we'd set up for sewer slide prevention had $3,000 missing. The transfer happened the day after his funeral. My mom printed out all the bank statements. She was shaking with anger but stayed focused on gathering evidence. We were building a case piece by piece. Then something unexpected happened. A girl named Alexis messaged me on Facebook. She said she was Brittany's roommate and had seen the TikTok video. She wanted to talk. We met at a coffee shop downtown. Alexis looked nervous, kept checking over her shoulder. She told me Brittany had played her the deepfake before posting it. She'd been bragging about the whole scheme. Alexis showed me text messages where Brittany detailed her entire plan. She'd written about which AI apps to use and how she stole Daniel's old phone to get voice samples. Alexis said she felt guilty for not speaking up sooner. I told her it wasn't her fault. She agreed to help us however she could. My sister Megan finally unblocked me after our cousin Keith showed her something weird about the fake note. It mentioned a fight we'd supposedly had at Thanksgiving, but Daniel had been in rehab during Thanksgiving. He wasn't even there. Megan called me crying, apologizing over and over. I told her I understood. The video had seemed so real. She asked how Brittany could do something like this. I didn't have an answer. Some people just see opportunity in tragedy, I guess. Britney must have sensed people were starting to question things. She posted another video the next day. This time it was Daniel supposedly apologizing for our family trying to silence his truth. His voice sounded slightly off this time though. She'd rushed it. People in the comments started pointing out weird glitches in the audio. One of my friends from college, Gray, was really good with tech stuff. They analyzed both videos and found clear digital artifacts. Gray wrote up a whole report showing how the voice was AI generated. They even identified which software Britney probably used. We didn't realize Daniel's laptop had been automatically backing up to his Google Drive. Everything Britney did on it was being saved. My dad found folders full of her practice recordings. She'd been testing different phrases, trying to get the voice just right. Some of the attempts were obviously fake. Others were scary accurate. There were even drafts of different sewer slide notes she'd written. Each one blamed me for different things. She'd put hours into this. Then Alexis told us something that made everything click. This wasn't Britney's first time. She'd done something similar to her high school ex's family. They'd been too scared to do anything about it. Alexis put us in touch with them. The other family was a couple named Raymond and Christine. They lived 2 towns over in a quiet suburban neighborhood with tree-lined streets. When we talked on the phone, Christine's voice was shaky, breaking at certain words like she was reliving the trauma all over again. She told me about their son Benjamin, who died in a car accident 3 years ago on a rainy November night. The details came slowly. He'd been coming home from his job at the local bookstore when a hammered driver ran a red light. Britney had dated him briefly in high school, maybe 3 months during their senior year. After he died, she'd shown up at their doorstep with a leather-bound diary, claiming it contained Benjamin's deepest thoughts. She said their son wrote about how his parents never supported his dreams of becoming a musician, how they'd forced him into business school, how he felt trapped and unloved. She wanted money, or she'd share these painful revelations with their entire church community. They paid her $2,000 to make it go away, transferring the money in small increments to avoid suspicion. They were too broken to fight back then, still reeling from the loss. Christine said she wished they'd been stronger, that she regretted not seeing through Britney's manipulation. She emailed me screenshots of Britney's old threats, sent from various email addresses over the course of several weeks. The messages were almost identical to what she'd sent me. The same phrases, the same emotional manipulation, even the same typos. Britney started getting desperate as the days passed without payment. She showed up at my parents' house at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday, the rain pelting down as she stood on their front porch. She was banging on the door with both fists, demanding Daniel's laptop in a voice loud enough to wake the entire neighborhood. My dad told me and mom to stay inside while he handled it, his jaw set in that determined way I remembered from childhood. He turned on the doorbell camera first, making sure everything would be recorded. Then he opened the door just a crack, keeping the chain lock engaged. Britney was practically screaming about her property being stolen, her hair plastered to her face from the rain. She said she'd left her laptop here during one of her visits and needed it back immediately. My dad calmly asked her to describe her laptop. What brand, what color, any distinguishing marks. She couldn't provide any details. She kept insisting it was Daniel's, but then caught herself and said it was hers, that Daniel had given it to her. She threatened to come back with more videos, said she had recordings of Daniel talking about the whole family's secrets. My dad just kept repeating that she needed to leave the property immediately. I was inside calling 911, my hands shaking as I gave them our address. The police showed up pretty quick, their lights cutting through the darkness. Britney immediately switched tactics like flipping a switch. She became super calm and told them she was just trying to retrieve her belongings, even managing a small smile. The officers asked what belongings exactly, taking notes on their small pads. She stumbled over her words, couldn't give straight answers, kept changing her story about when she'd supposedly left the laptop. They told her to resolve it civilly through proper channels and not return to the property without permission. She left, but not before shooting my dad a look that made my skin crawl, pure hatred mixed with calculation. We gave the officers a brief rundown of the situation, showing them some of the threatening messages. They took notes but said it was complicated, that digital crimes were tricky to prosecute. They suggested we come to the station with all our evidence properly organized. Alexis called me right after Britney left our house, her voice panicked and breathless. She said Britney was in their apartment destroying things like a tornado of destruction. She was deleting files from her computer, the clicking sounds frantic, and burning papers in the kitchen sink, smoke alarm blaring. Alexis managed to record some of it on her phone from the hallway, staying hidden behind the doorframe. In the video, you could hear Britney muttering about how we'd ruined everything, how years of planning were going to waste. She was saying she'd practiced her speech for hours, perfecting every pause and sob. At one point she laughed, a harsh sound, and said we were even dumber than she thought for not just paying up. Alexis also grabbed some papers Britney missed in her frenzy. They'd fallen behind the desk. They were printouts of tutorials on deepfake technology, with handwritten notes in the margins about voice modulation and emotional inflection. My friend Gray had been digging deeper into the technical side, their computer science background finally coming in handy. They found the exact AI voice service Britney used, VoiceForge Pro. It was a cheap one that left specific digital fingerprints in the audio files, tiny markers that most people wouldn't notice. Gray even found Britney's account on the platform using advanced search techniques. She'd used her real email address, probably thinking she was too clever to get caught. Her project history showed she'd been working on Daniel's voice for weeks before she contacted me, uploading and fine-tuning constantly. She'd uploaded hours of his audio to train the AI, voicemails he'd left her, videos from social media, even recordings she'd secretly made during their relationship. Gray documented everything meticulously and created a detailed timeline with timestamps. It showed Britney had started planning this while Daniel was still alive, possibly even recording him specifically for this purpose. The next morning, my mom discovered something else on Daniel's laptop while organizing his files. Britney had been browsing real estate websites using his browser, forgetting to clear the history. She was looking at luxury apartments in expensive areas downtown, places with doormen and rooftop pools. She'd even filled out applications for some, listing her income as 5 times what she actually made. The rent on these places was way more than she could afford on her retail salary. She'd also been shopping for designer bags online, her shopping cart still saved. She had carts full of stuff totaling thousands of dollars. Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Prada. It was crystal clear what she planned to do with the money she thought she'd extort from us. My sister Megan wanted to help make things right, her protective instincts kicking in full force. She started reaching out to everyone who'd seen the fake posts, calling and messaging people individually. She explained what really happened and shared Gray's technical analysis in terms people could understand. Most people were shocked and appalled. They couldn't believe someone would use AI to fake a dead person's voice for money. Our neighbor Brenda was especially angry, her face flushing red when she learned the truth. She said she'd almost donated to a fund Brittany had started on GoFundMe. Apparently, Brittany was collecting money for mental health awareness in Daniel's name, complete with a touching story about his struggles. Nobody knew where that money was actually going, but the fund had already raised several $1,000s from kind-hearted strangers. We went to the police station with boxes of evidence, everything carefully labeled and organized. The detective assigned to us was named Carrie Chen, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s. They specialized in cybercrimes and fraud, with over 15 years of experience. Carrie was impressed by how organized everything was, commenting that most people don't document things this thoroughly. We showed them the FaceTime video first, playing it on my laptop. Carrie's face changed completely when they heard Brittany admit to making the deepfake, their pen stopping mid-note. Then we laid out everything else systematically. The bank records showing her suspicious deposits, the threatening text messages with their timestamps, Gray's technical analysis with all the digital fingerprints highlighted. Carrie said they'd need to verify some things with their own experts, but it looked like we had a solid case for extortion and fraud. Brittany must have sensed things were closing in because her behavior became increasingly erratic. She started posting on social media about being harassed by Daniel's family, crafting a narrative where she was the victim. She claimed we were trying to silence her grief and erase her from Daniel's life. She posted old photos of her and Daniel looking happy at various events, concerts, restaurants, hiking trips. People who didn't know the full story started defending her in the comments. Some even attacked us directly, calling us heartless and cruel. It was exhausting watching her play victim so convincingly, but we knew the truth would come out eventually. We just had to be patient and trust the process. Alexis decided to move out of their apartment immediately, unable to stand being around Brittany anymore. While packing her belongings, she found more evidence hidden in strange places. Brittany had a notebook where she'd practiced Daniel's handwriting for hours, filling pages with his signature. There were pages of her copying his writing style, down to the way he crossed his T's. Alexis also found receipts for burner phones stuffed in a shoebox. Brittany had bought 3 of them the week after Daniel died, paying cash at different stores. Alexis took photos of everything before leaving, making sure to capture every detail. She said Brittany didn't even notice she was gone for 2 days, too absorbed in her schemes to care. The detective called us back for follow-up questions a week later. They'd verified the digital evidence with their own expert, a specialist in audio forensics. Everything checked out exactly as Gray had documented. The deepfakes were confirmed fake using multiple analysis methods, including spectral analysis and machine learning detection. They'd also found more of Brittany's victims through careful investigation. Apparently, she'd tried this scam with other grieving families too. Some had paid her small amounts just to make her go away. $500 here, $1,000 there. Others had ignored her and she'd eventually moved on to easier targets. But we were the first to fight back with comprehensive evidence. Carrie said they were building a strong case that could set a precedent for deepfake extortion. My dad had been quietly researching Brittany's background using public records and social media. He found out she'd been fired from 2 previous jobs for theft-related issues. One was at a high-end jewelry store where she'd been caught taking pictures of customers' credit cards. The other was at a doctor's office where she'd accessed patient records without permission, possibly looking for blackmail material. Both times, she'd talked her way out of serious consequences, claiming misunderstandings and promising it would never happen again. She was remarkably good at manipulating people and systems, but she'd finally picked the wrong target in our family. Brittany tried one last big move to control the narrative. She created a professional-looking website called Justice for Daniel, where she posted all the fake evidence she'd created. She included the deepfake videos and the forged sewer slide note, presenting them as authentic. She even added new fabricated evidence we hadn't seen before, fake text conversations between me and Daniel where I supposedly said horrible things about his dreams and ambitions. The website looked professional with custom graphics and emotional music. She'd clearly spent money on it, probably using funds from her previous victims. But Gray was able to trace the domain registration back to her within hours. She'd used the same email as her AI voice account, a careless mistake that proved crucial. My mom broke down when she saw the website, the accumulated stress finally overwhelming her. Seeing Daniel's face on there with all those lies, presented as truth, was too much to bear. But my dad reminded us we had the truth on our side and a growing mountain of evidence. We screenshot everything meticulously before reporting the site to the hosting company. It got taken down within 24 hours for violating terms of service related to harassment and fraud, but Brittany had already shared it widely across social media platforms. More people started believing her elaborate lies. Some even donated to her fake memorial fund through the website. We later found out she'd collected almost $8,000 from well-meaning strangers who thought they were honoring Daniel's memory. Alexis testified to the police about everything she'd witnessed during their time as roommates. She gave them recordings of Brittany practicing her extortion speech in front of the mirror. In one recording, Brittany was laughing about how she'd cry on command when asking for money, calling it her superpower. She called us idiots for caring so much about Daniel's memory, saying emotional people were the easiest marks. Alexis also provided text messages where Brittany detailed her escalation plan if we didn't pay. She was planning to make increasingly shocking videos of Daniel confessing to crimes he never committed. Theft, assault, worse things. The messages showed a calculating mind with no moral boundaries. The investigation uncovered more than we expected about the scope of Brittany's activities. She had created deepfakes of other people too, building an arsenal of digital weapons. She had a folder labeled insurance with fake videos of her professors and former employers saying incriminating things. She'd made them say inappropriate things that could destroy careers and relationships. One video was of her college advisor supposedly admitting to changing her grades for money. Another was her old boss at the jewelry store confessing to tax fraud and inventory theft. None of it was real, but the videos were frighteningly convincing to the untrained eye. She'd even created fake videos of ex-boyfriends to use as leverage if needed. Detective Carrie told us Brittany had been doing this for years in smaller ways, evolving her techniques as technology improved. She'd started with simple photoshopped screenshots and worked her way up to sophisticated deepfakes. The technology made it easier for her to create believable lies that could destroy lives. She'd victimized at least 12 families that they could confirm, possibly many more. Some had lost jobs because of her fake evidence when she targeted them at work. Others had paid her thousands to protect their reputations and keep their families intact. We were lucky we'd found that FaceTime video of her confession. Without it, proving the truth would have been much harder in court. My family started healing once we knew justice was coming and Brittany would face consequences. Megan and I grew closer than we'd been in years, bonding over protecting Daniel's memory. She helped me respond to people who still believed Brittany's lies, crafting thoughtful messages that presented facts without attacking. We created a simple website with the facts and Gray's technical analysis, keeping it professional and focused. We didn't attack Brittany directly or stoop to her level. We just presented the evidence clearly and let people decide for themselves. Most came around once they saw the comprehensive proof. Some apologized for jumping to conclusions and attacking us. My old boss called and offered me my job back with a raise and a formal apology. He said he felt terrible for not supporting me when I needed it most. Brittany tried to run when she realized the police were closing in on her. She packed up her apartment in the middle of the night, throwing things haphazardly into boxes. Alexis heard from neighbors that she'd loaded everything into a rental truck at 3 a.m., looking paranoid and checking over her shoulder constantly, but she didn't get far in her escape attempt. Police arrested her at a gas station 2 states over after an alert was issued. She'd been using a stolen credit card to pay for gas and snacks. When they searched her truck, they found multiple laptops full of deepfake projects in various stages. She'd been planning to start over in a new city with new victims, having researched her next targets extensively. They also found a detailed list of wealthy families who'd recently lost someone to sewer slide or accidents. She'd been researching their social media, their finances, their vulnerabilities. The list had over 50 names with notes about how to approach each family. The arrest made local and regional news, becoming a cautionary tale about modern technology. The headline was about the dangers of deepfake technology being used for extortion. They interviewed an expert who explained how easy it was to fake someone's voice now with just a few audio samples. My family declined to be interviewed, wanting privacy to heal. We just wanted to move forward without more attention. But other families Brittany had targeted came forward with their own stories. Raymond and Christine did a powerful interview about their experience, their pain still evident. They said they hoped sharing their story would help others avoid being victimized. The story gained national traction as more people realized they could be targets too, that grief could make anyone vulnerable to this kind of exploitation. During the investigation, police found Brittany's practice folder was massive, containing hundreds of deepfake files. She had deepfakes of dozens of people saying horrible things that could ruin lives. Some were celebrities, but most were regular people she knew personally. She'd made her college roommate confess to cheating on exams and selling substances. She'd made her high school teacher admit to drinking on the job and having inappropriate relationships with students. She'd even made her own mother say she regretted having her and wished she'd chosen termination of pregnancy. It was clear Brittany collected these as weapons to use when needed. She wanted leverage over everyone in her life, a form of control through fear. My parents decided to donate all the memorial fund money to legitimate sewer slide prevention charities. Every penny accounted for. We made sure every dollar went to actually helping people in crisis. We also started a support group for families who'd lost someone to sewer slide, meeting weekly at the community center. It was small at first, just 5 or 6 people, but it grew as word spread. People needed a safe space to grieve without judgment or fear of exploitation. Daniel would have loved that his memory was helping others heal. That's the kind of person he was, always thinking about how to make things better for everyone else, how to bring light to dark situations. Brittany's mom reached out to us after the arrest, her voice broken with shame and confusion. She was devastated and couldn't understand how her daughter had become this person. She said she had no idea what Brittany had been doing all these years. Apparently, Brittany had been lying to her for years about having a successful career in marketing. She'd been sending her mom money monthly and claiming it was from her high-paying job with bonuses. In reality, it was all from her various schemes and victims. Her mom apologized repeatedly, saying she'd failed as a parent somehow. We told her it wasn't her fault. Some people just choose to hurt others regardless of their upbringing. The technical evidence against Brittany was overwhelming and undeniable. The police's digital forensics team found she'd been using multiple AI services across different platforms. She had premium accounts on platforms specifically designed for creating deepfakes, paying for them with prepaid cards. Her search history showed she'd spent hundreds of hours learning the technology, becoming an expert in digital manipulation. She'd bookmarked tutorials on making voices sound more realistic and emotional. She'd even taken online courses on audio engineering and voice acting to perfect her craft. This wasn't a crime of passion or desperation. It was calculated and planned over months, possibly years, with Daniel being just one of many targets in her grand scheme of exploitation. The police built their case methodically over the next few weeks. Detective Carey called us with updates every few days. They'd found even more evidence on Brittany's devices. She had spreadsheets tracking her victims like some twisted business operation. Each row had names, amounts extorted, and notes about their weaknesses. Daniel's name was there with a note that said, "Sister is emotional, will pay to protect his memory." My hands shook when I saw that. She'd been planning this before he even died. Brittany hired a lawyer who tried to argue the evidence was obtained illegally. He claimed we'd stolen her laptop and violated her privacy, but the laptop was Daniel's and we had every right to access it. The lawyer then tried to say the deepfakes were just art projects, that Brittany never intended to use them for extortion. That fell apart when they played the FaceTime video where she literally said she was doing it for money. Her lawyer looked defeated after that. My job situation got complicated even though my boss apologized. Some coworkers still looked at me weird. They'd seen the fake video and couldn't shake the image. I decided to look for something new. A fresh start seemed better than trying to fix everyone's perception. I found a position at a nonprofit that actually paid better. During the interview, they asked about the gap in my employment. I told them the truth. They were horrified by what Brittany had done and impressed by how our family handled it. Alexis kept finding stuff Brittany left behind in their apartment. She found USB drives hidden in the bathroom, taped under the sink. They contained backup files of all her deepfake projects. There was also a journal where Brittany rated her victims on how easy they were to manipulate. She gave people scores from 1 to 10. Our family got a 4 because we fought back. The high school ex's family got a 9 because they paid immediately. It was sick seeing grief turned into a game. The memorial fund Brittany created got frozen by the platform after we reported it. They investigated and found she'd withdrawn money to her personal account multiple times. She'd been living off donations meant for sewer slide prevention. The platform refunded everyone who donated and banned her permanently. Some donors reached out to us directly to apologize. They felt terrible about being tricked. We told them their hearts were in the right place. They just wanted to help honor Daniel's memory. Brittany's other victims started connecting with each other online. Someone created a private Facebook group for people she'd targeted. It grew to over 30 members in 2 weeks. Everyone shared their stories and evidence. Some had been too embarrassed to come forward before. They thought they were the only ones. The group became a support system. People who'd lost jobs got references from others who understood. Those who'd paid her money got advice on possibly recovering it. My mom threw herself into organizing Daniel's belongings properly. She found more evidence of Brittany's theft. left. Daniel's watch was missing, the one our grandfather gave him. His gaming console was gone too. Small things we hadn't noticed in our grief. Mom made a list of everything missing. It wasn't about the monetary value. It was about her taking pieces of him after he was gone. She'd probably sold them for cash or kept them as trophies. The prosecutor assigned to the case was named Eric Wu. He specialized in cybercrimes and had dealt with deepfake cases before. He said Britney's was one of the worst he'd seen. Most people use deepfakes for revenge porn or political attacks. Using them to extort grieving families was a new level of cruelty. He was confident they could get serious jail time. The evidence was overwhelming and showed clear criminal intent. Britney tried to contact me through her lawyer. She wanted to apologize and make a deal. Her lawyer said she was willing to publicly admit everything if we dropped the charges. I laughed when I heard that. She thought she could manipulate us one more time. We refused any deals. She needed to face consequences for what she'd done to multiple families. My dad said letting her off would just enable her to hurt others. Local news wanted to interview us about the case. They were doing a segment on deepfake crimes. We agreed, but asked them to focus on the technology dangers, not our family drama. The reporter was respectful and kept her word. The segment featured expert interviews about spotting deepfakes. They showed how to look for glitches and unnatural movements. It actually helped people in our community become more aware. Several people thanked us for raising awareness. Britney's apartment got evicted after she couldn't pay rent from jail. The landlord let Alexis retrieve her stuff first. While there, the landlord mentioned Britney had been a nightmare tenant. She'd tried to blackmail him too. She claimed she had video of him entering apartments without notice. He'd almost paid her before realizing the video showed a completely different person. He was happy to see her gone and wished he'd reported her earlier. My sister Megan started dating someone new, a guy named Brian who worked at her gym. She was nervous to tell him about our family situation. When she finally did, he was incredibly supportive. He said his family had dealt with a scammer who targeted elderly people. He understood how violating it felt. They came to Sunday dinner and Brian fit right in. It was nice seeing Megan happy after everything we'd been through. The deepfake expert who testified for the prosecution was fascinating. Her name was Dr. Amber Kim, and she'd been studying this technology for years. She explained how Britney's deepfakes were actually amateur level. With more advanced tools, they could have been nearly impossible to detect. That thought terrified me. She said legislation was being proposed to make deepfake extortion a federal crime. Our case might help push that forward. Britney's ex-boyfriends started coming forward with their own stories. One guy named Drew said she'd threatened to release a fake video of him confessing to assault. He'd paid her $3,000 to keep quiet. Another ex named Finley said she'd stolen his identity and opened credit cards. He'd been fighting fraudulent charges for years. The pattern was clear. She'd been a predator long before targeting grieving families. My parents decided to sell Daniel's car. It had been sitting in the driveway for months. Going through it, we found more of Britney's stuff. She'd left hair ties, receipts, even a spare key to our house. Dad immediately changed all the locks. The receipts showed she'd been following Daniel to places. She knew his whole routine. One receipt was from the pharmacy where he picked up his prescriptions. She'd been there the same day, probably watching him. The trial date got set for 6 months out. Eric Wu said that was actually fast for this type of case. He warned us Britney might try more manipulation tactics as it approached. He was right. She started writing letters to distant relatives, claiming she was being framed. Most ignored her, but a few asked us about it. We had to explain everything again. It was exhausting, but we stayed united. Gray kept helping us understand the technical side. They found Britney had been part of online forums for deepfake creators. She posted under fake names asking for advice on making voices sound more realistic. Other users had warned her about the legal risks. She'd responded that grieving people never fought back. She was wrong about that. Gray archived everything before the forums deleted her accounts. My new job was going well. My coworkers were supportive and understanding. One of them, Dakota, had actually seen the fake video before I started. They apologized for believing it initially. They said knowing the truth made them more skeptical of online content. That became a common theme. People who learned about our story started questioning things more. They stopped immediately believing every video they saw online. Britney's mother tried visiting her in jail but got turned away. Britney had put her on the no-visit list. Her mom was heartbroken. She'd been sending money for commissary and trying to maintain contact. We heard through Alexis that Britney blamed her mom for not raising her rich. She thought poverty justified her crimes. Her mom had worked 2 jobs to support them. The ingratitude was stunning. The prosecutor found Britney had targeted a family in Canada too. The Johnsons had lost their daughter in a skiing accident. Britney connected with them through an online grief forum. She'd created fake diary entries from their daughter expressing regret about their relationship. The family paid her to keep quiet, thinking it was real. International charges got added to her case. This was bigger than anyone realized. My dad created a detailed timeline of everything that happened. He's always been organized, but this was next level. Every text, every threat, every piece of evidence was cataloged. He made copies for the prosecutor and kept backups everywhere. He said it helped him process the trauma. Putting it in order made it less overwhelming. Mom said it was his way of protecting us even after the fact. Local therapists started seeing more clients worried about deepfakes. Our story had made people paranoid about technology. Dr. Patricia Chen, who ran a practice downtown, said she'd developed new protocols for dealing with digital harassment trauma. She offered our family free sessions. We took her up on it. Talking to someone neutral helped process everything. She said what we experienced was a form of psychological torture. Britney made a mistake trying to use the jail phones. She called someone named First Time Post to help delete evidence from her cloud storage. She didn't realize all jail calls are recorded. First Time Post turned out to be another person she was blackmailing. They went straight to the police with her passwords. The cloud storage had everything. Years of schemes, victims we didn't know about, and plans for future targets. It was a gold mine of evidence. The day of Britney's sentencing finally came. The courtroom was packed with her victims. Some had driven hours to be there. Raymond and Christine sat in the front row holding hands. The judge had reviewed everything carefully. She called Britney's crimes a grotesque exploitation of human grief and a calculated assault on the most vulnerable. She noted the planning involved and the lack of remorse. Britney got 5 years in federal prison plus 3 years probation. After sentencing, Britney had to make restitution to all her victims. The judge ordered her to pay back every cent she'd stolen through fraud. Her wages would be garnished for years. She also had to publicly apologize and admit to creating the deepfakes. The apology was posted on the court website. It was clinical and clearly written by her lawyer, but it was something. Having the truth officially documented mattered. Our family held a proper memorial for Daniel on the anniversary of his death. This time it wasn't overshadowed by drama or lies. We shared real memories and funny stories. His friends from college came. His coworkers shared shared how he'd helped them. Even his high school teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, attended. She said Daniel was the kind of student teachers remember. He always tried to help classmates who were struggling. The Sewer Slide Prevention charity we donated to invited us to their annual gala. They wanted to honor Daniel's memory and our family's strength. We almost said no, but decided Daniel would want us to go. They'd helped over 100 families with the donation money. The director said our story had inspired other victims of fraud to come forward. Good was coming from something terrible. I kept Daniel's guitar pick that I'd given Brittany. She'd mailed it back with her court-ordered apology, likely to fulfill some requirement of her sentence. I wear it on a chain now. Sometimes people ask about it and I tell them about my brother. Not the fake story Brittany created, but the real one. How he taught himself guitar from YouTube videos. How he played at open mic nights despite stage fright. How he was getting better before she broke him down. My parents are doing better now. They joined a support group for parents who've lost children. Dad still maintains his evidence files but doesn't obsess over them anymore. Mom started volunteering at the crisis hotline. She says helping others helps her heal. They're planning to move to a smaller house soon. Too many memories in the old one.